Hi, Dr. Morey for Uncivilized Vitality, and this is a video on explaining more about what Uncivilized Vitality is. The short answer, if you've subscribed to our channel or come to any of our events, or you have the book, one of the books, Uncivilized Vitality is a health and happiness optimization program. So it helps you become the happiest and healthiest you can become with some advice. Obviously, there are other pathways and avenues to increasing your health and happiness. This just happens to be the one that I've developed and promote through the different things we do, like this YouTube channel. So the Uncivilized Vitality, we have the health and happiness optimization, and it consists basically of three parts. We have the health and wellness, which are the 5 vital paths where you follow our movement, nourishment, restoration, hygiene, and community advice and first principles. And then there's the fieldcraft portion, which is where we get out into nature. We go camping or hiking, or we're out in nature using the eight families of tools, or 8 categories of tools that pre-civilized humans most likely had and relied on to influence their environment. We seek to, and then we follow a 13-point philosophical guideline. And with these health and wellness, fieldcraft, and philosophical aspects of the Uncivilized Vitality program, we seek to develop the 3 lost abilities: becoming more capable, adaptable, and durable. So that's kind of UV in a nutshell. You probably knew that if you've seen the channel before. But one of the things we get all the time with the fieldcraft portion is people talk about, well, this seems like a survivalist sort of thing. And as I've said before, I don't care for the term survivalist. We don't practice survival. If you get lost in the woods and you curl up around the base of the tree and don't die until someone finds you the next day or help arrives, congratulations, you're a survivalist. You don't need tons of different gear. What you really need primarily is knowledge and know-how, capability, and the ability to adapt to a situation, and the ability to put up with some hard conditions until you can make the most of it, being durable. But another thing that came up recently in a conversation was, what about prepping, right? Are you guys preppers, or is this something I could study or train with you, learn about Uncivilized Vitality, help me be a prepper? So I wanted to say a few things about prepping. In the cliched sense of prepping, when you hear that, you've been kind of taught to accept a certain frame of a prepper as some kind of anti-government, conspiracy theorist, ultra right-wing or ultra left-wing nut that lives in a basement and sleeps on 50-pound bags of rice and wears his tinfoil hat and his body armor everywhere and is just stockpiling against Armageddon and whatnot. So that's kind of the cliched idea of prepper. Not to make fun of that. If there were a nuclear holocaust or some kind of natural disaster and everyone ran out of food, you wouldn't be making fun of the guy that had filled his basement with 50-pound bags of pasta or whatever. But Uncivilized Vitality, you could kind of think of we are preppers in a completely different sense. Our philosophical tenet 13, pace yourself. You should always have a primary, an alternative, a contingency, and then an emergency plan when you're going to take for any endeavor for your education. Right. My primary plan is to graduate school, go to a good college. Alternative would be, well, college. Maybe I didn't get a scholarship and I can't afford it, so I go to a community college, get the grades for the first half of the degree a little cheaper. Then I transfer to a community. My contingency plan would be to maybe go to community college 1 or 2 classes at a time and work. An emergency plan would be maybe I work first and then go to college. So that would be kind of how to pace yourself if you're interested in going to so-called higher education institute. Maybe your primary plan is to get out of high school and get an apprenticeship in the skilled trades. Maybe you couldn't pick up an apprenticeship with it, or let's say you wanted to go into become an electrician. That didn't work out. Your alternative would be going into woodworking or plumbing, and then you could develop your contingencies and emergency plans from there. For Uncivilized Vitality, as far as your health goes, my primary plan is to get as healthy as I personally can, given my genetics and my current condition, my socioeconomic means, my background, everything considered. I'll get as happy and healthy as I can. My alternative will be to deal with any setbacks like disease or injury as they come, try to fix them, get back to that. A contingency would be learn to live with that condition or whatever. An emergency would be more drastic measures. This would, for me personally, I'd get down to this level before I approached mainstream medicine, like a hospital or any kind of pharmaceutical distributing physician, because I consider mainstream medicine to be emergent care. It's great when I get hit by the car, awesome. You get stabbed, awesome. You get a highly virulent infection, awesome. But as far as helping you stay at or maintain a healthy body weight or composition, it's garbage. They don't know anything about getting and staying healthy, conservative healthcare. They pay lip service to it. Typically starts out with something like, well, when diet and exercise don't work, there's always, insert drug name here. The big secret being that 95% of the time, if done properly, diet and exercise are enough. But you can check out our cognitive distortions and fallacies playlist or video to explain to you why they do that. And that's about anchoring and frame forcing and exploiting your internal cognitive biases to make money off of you and or control you. So we get back to Uncivilized Vitality and prepping. The idea is people think we're preppers just because we go out in the woods a lot. We're not prepping per se for some kind of environmental disaster, but you can bet that the well-rounded individual is prepared to pace that out. This is where Uncivilized Vitality can come in. Obviously, if everything stayed civilized and you could get along in society, great. What's your alternative contingency and emergency plans for a blackout, a natural disaster, a blizzard, a hurricane, earthquake, depending where you live, a, God forbid, nuclear holocaust or some kind of cataclysmic pole shift, or pick whatever disaster fantasy you're into, and what would you do? Just go through that as a simple exercise. Doesn't have to be end of the world Hollywood catastrophe blockbuster style movie event. What would you do if the power's out for 3 days? Do you have 3 days worth of food in the house? Do you have, more important than food, do you have access or the ability to purify or produce potable water at home? Simplest thing there to do is get a life straw. I should have brought one to show you on the video. We'll do that another one. Boiling water is a good way to go. Having a water filter, at the house. It can sit on the shelf for 20, 30 years. You might never use it, but at least you have it because you've kind of thought ahead. Do you need to put 1,000 pounds of pasta in your basement? No. That idea, just on a particular level, because of the nourishment advice we give, sure, rice and pastas and grains are shelf stable and last a long time, but they're terrible for your nourishment or your nutrition needs. So you survive the fallout, you come out of the bunker, and then you're eating rice and oatmeal and pasta, macaroni and cheese, freeze-dried garbage meals, and beans for the next 6 months. You're going to get fat and sick and probably die anyway. That stuff's not human food. You can't say, well, I'll just hunt and fish and trap. If it's an ecological or a nuclear disaster, there'll be nothing to eat, or hunt, or trap. So you got to kind of think ahead and be prepared. What are your contingency and emergency plans? What are you prepared to do to keep your family safe and follow the rule of threes, right? Do you have your first aid gear? Do you and knowledge Do you have the ability to control your body temperature, stay cool and warm? Do you have potable water and a place to rest safely? Start with that first 3 levels of threes. Make sure you do that, and then you can say, well, then what would I do for food? What would I do for communication? The wife and I and the 4 boys, we have just kind of a general plan. If something ever happened, the boys would leave work or school or wherever they're at, and they would make their way home. We're assuming that cell phone communication would be out. They would make their way home, and then once there, the family would be able to coordinate, communicate, sort of regroup, say, okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? So our primary plan would be, well, let's go home, right? We have a secondary and a tertiary locations we would meet if for some reason in the small town where I live, maybe there was an earthquake or a flood and we couldn't go home. What's our alternative meeting spot? What's our contingency, right? When the boys were little, if someone were to try to pick them up from school that wasn't myself, my wife, or one of the grandparents, for instance, that person would show up and my children would expect them to know the secret phrase before they were able to go with them. So things like that. We just thought ahead. It doesn't require a lot of work. I don't have my house layered in, there's no barbed wire around the property. There's no hidden steel plates to slide in front of windows. That's just too much Hollywood fantasy. I don't have enough ammo stockpiled for a small military unit. I have the things I need. I understand the rule of threes. I have the 8 tools or their family, the representatives of those. I understand them, and I have some supplies set aside. Not stockpiled so much, but when my wife goes shopping, we always have at least 2 weeks worth of food in the house. A lot of peanut butter and sardines because, it doesn't have to be awesome food. If it was just food we were waiting 2 weeks sheltering in place from a disaster of some sort, we'll eat peanut butter and sardines. It'll keep us alive. It won't be great, but each time my wife goes to the grocery store or I go shopping or one of the boys does the shopping for that week, we pull things out of our supplies. We rotate that into that week's meals and edibles and then food stuffs, and then we just replace the stuff in the stocks. We've always got kind of a revolving, rotating balance of food. We have the ability to produce potable water. We have the ability to, if the heat and electricity went out, we're fortunate enough to have a fireplace in the house, so we could still heat the house with fire. We have a supply of wood. Anyway, so to being a prepper, like the ones on the TV shows where they have those preppers and they kind of poking fun at the extreme range that some people take toward prepping. And then there's others who poo-poo the entire idea of being prepared because they're living in some sort of denial that anything bad could ever happen. Right? That's also a cognitive distortion where you live in that sort of denialism. So when people ask about UV, if we're preppers or survivalists, the easy answer is no. But it doesn't take much more than simple common sense to, like a Boy Scout, be prepared. Just think ahead, get up in the morning, well, what's the worst that could happen today? How you mentally prepare yourself for your day. Just do that with general things, like what would we do if the local Kroger burned down? What if they had a fire at the grocery store and we didn't have food? What do we do? Because no one else had food, so we're all going to have to go to a Meijer or another Kroger, go to the other town to get our groceries. You got to be prepared for those kind of things. So just think about when it comes to prepping, UV is just a bit of pacing your mental preparation and maybe some supplies and physical preparations for possible emergencies or contingencies. And one of the ways you could do that is join us on one of our outdoor events. Obviously, UV is not just all outdoor camping, but we do a lot of it. If you were going to be stuck living outdoors because of some kind of disaster or fire, not even living outdoors, having to crash or couch surf at a friend or family's residence because maybe of a house fire or loss of residence, you can put up with a lot of things if you know it's only 1 month or 2 weeks or 3 months or 72 hours. Like we talk about going camping, we take people and say, you know what, even if it sucks, it's only the weekend and you've accomplished that and you get home and you feel better. It's a whole different thing if you're out camping in the woods and you're like, well, this is my life now. That would be a different mental outlook necessary to get through that. And it helps sometimes to pace yourself. Going out camping with us is just a small taste of that. If you can go out and live outdoors in the woods without all the modern conveniences of civilization, just a tarp and a blanket, your basic tools, and you learn the knowledge to utilize those tools to see to your basic physiological and safety needs, then you'll be less worried about massive prepping for emergencies and end of the world type stuff. So that's all I can say about that. We're not preppers, but it never hurts to be prepared. All right, if you like this video, leave some comments, give us a thumbs up, share, hit the notifications, and strongly consider coming on one of our events this year. It's 2023. Check out, we've got some overnight hikes, we've got a rattlesnake hunt, we've got a visit to the Fossil Ledge in Drummond Island in northern Michigan. We're doing a canoe and advanced fieldcraft canoeing trip overnight. Lots of stuff coming up.